You've probably seen them scrolling online, right? These messages that promise a huge, almost instant transfer of wealth. All you have to do is listen to a simple prayer. Well, today, we're going to pull one of these viral messages apart. We're going to break down its core claims, the whole spiritual system it's built on, and the exact steps it says will unlock your financial breakthrough.
Wow. So the message doesn't ease you in at all. It hits you right out of the gate with this incredibly direct and powerful hook. See, this isn't a suggestion, it's a full-on declaration. It's meant to create this immediate sense of, okay, this is it, telling you that your time of struggle is officially over. And now it's time to get paid.
So how does a message like this build its case? We're going to walk through it in 5 key parts. First, we'll look at the problem it says it can solve. Then we'll dive into the spiritual belief system behind it. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty, the specific actions you're supposed to take, what you can expect to happen, and finally, the really crucial part, the mindset shift it says you absolutely have to make. Okay, first things first, the problem of lack. You know, any big promise has to start by tapping into a real deep-seated pain point. And this message is a masterclass in that. This is the very foundation the whole thing is built on. The language here is designed to hit you right where you live. It paints that before picture so clearly. A life that's just a constant cycle of stress about bills, that feeling of just barely getting by. This is the exact struggle it's promising to completely wipe out. But here's where it gets really interesting. The message doesn't say that struggle is your fault or that it's some kind of punishment. Instead, it flips the script entirely. It uses this metaphor of a farmer planting seeds. The argument is that all those tough times, they weren't pointless. They were a hidden, underground growing phase, getting you ready for the massive harvest that's supposedly on its way. So, if the struggle was just the prep work, what's the actual engine that makes this harvest happen? Well, that brings us to part 2, the divine financial premise. This is where the message lays out the spiritual mechanics, the how and why behind the money.
At the very heart of this is the idea of a spiritual transaction. Now, according to the source, you just listening to this, that's not a passive act at all. It claims your attention is your agreement. It's an act of faith that literally gets your spirit in position to catch the blessing that's being thrown your way.
And to build on that, the universe isn't some random chaotic thing. No, it's presented as an orderly system that actually obeys spiritual commands. It's kind of described as this heavenly treasury, just waiting for the right command to transfer resources from the spiritual world straight into your bank account. To make this make sense, the source uses a really simple analogy: a radio. It says your spirit is like a receiver that's been tuned to the struggle station for way too long. The whole point of this prayer is to help you grab that dial, tune out the static of lack, and lock into the frequency of abundance, making you a perfect match for the wealth that's already out there.
Okay, so that's the theory, but what do you actually do? This brings us to the practical part, section 3, activating your breakthrough. This is the step-by-step guide for how you're supposed to make this whole thing a reality.
The activation process is broken down into 4 pretty clear steps. First, you have to declare you're ready, and simple things like liking or commenting are framed as a powerful spiritual declaration. Second, you listen with what they call active faith. Third, you've got to shift your whole identity. Stop seeing yourself as someone begging for help and start seeing yourself as a responsible manager of wealth. And last, you give thanks before it even shows up, acting like the money is already yours. It's all about aligning your actions with your belief.
All right, you've done the internal work, you've taken the steps, so what happens now? Section 4 is all about the good part, the promised money transfer. These are the specific, real-world results you're told to start looking for.
And to make this feel real, the source gives you testimonials. It tells a story about David from Chicago, who apparently got a surprise deposit of over $3,000 just 24 hours after hearing this message. That story does 2 things. It acts as proof, and it sets a serious expectation for speed. And the promises are anything but vague. The source lists all these different ways the money is supposed to show up. We're talking surprise grants, debt just vanishing, unexpected bonuses, even million-dollar ideas. By casting such a wide net, it makes it more likely that any good financial news you get will feel like it came from this prayer. And get this, a key part of the whole thing is the timeline. The source builds this incredible sense of anticipation by claiming that the very first signs, the proof that this is actually working, will start showing up fast, like within a 24 to 72-hour window. But here's the thing, this isn't just about money falling from the sky. It's all tied to a deep, internal change.
And that brings us to our final and maybe the most important section, rewiring your money mindset.
The whole process of this internal shift really kicks off with this one single question. What is your money story? It's a prompt that's meant to make you stop and really think about the beliefs you have about money, the stuff you might not even know you believe.
And this slide just lays out the required transformation perfectly. On the left, you've got that old money story, this narrative filled with struggle and guilt. The goal is to consciously throw that out and replace it with the new money story on the right, where abundance is normal, prosperity is your right, and you are a worthy manager of massive resources.
So how does this new story actually get results? Well, the message talks about activating your abundance codes. Think of it like installing new software on your computer. The claim is that when you shift your mindset, you activate these invisible codes and they just start automatically pulling wealth toward you, no extra effort required.
And this last quote, it really just nails the central idea of the entire message. It's saying your breakthrough isn't something you have to wait for in the future. It insists the money has already been released. So your job isn't to wait anymore. It's to start the joyful process of actually receiving what's already yours.
So that's the whole framework, a journey that starts with a problem and ends with a prescribed set of beliefs and actions that claim to solve it. It really all boils down to this final, pretty provocative question, which leaves all of us to wonder about that powerful connection between what we believe and what we experience. What really happens when belief becomes reality?